Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to share something a little bit different with you all, but it's something where you can connect maybe your experience in the gym with other endeavors in life. And today's topic is how you can prepare yourself for a test just like you prepare for a powerlifting meet. And I'm going to share, something very close to me. I just actually came back from taking a standardized physics exam that will allow me to teach upper level physics in high school. And test went very well. Long story short, I passed it, so very excited about that. But I want to share with you all the strategies that I used and how I learned those strategies from my years of powerlifting and applied those to something like an exam of information that I had to learn, which in theory is very different than powerlifting, but if you pay attention to how I apply some of these ideas, you'll start to realize it's not all that different. So, starting with, the goal. Just like in powerlifting or any sort of sport training, we have an end goal in mind. This could be standardized exam like I had today, or it could be any level of school exam throughout the semester. That is our end goal. We need to pass that. Okay? Now, there are several different techniques that we can use to increase our readiness on the day of the exam because we want to be most prepared on this day. Just like in powerlifting, it doesn't matter how prepared you are throughout training, it's how prepared you are on the day of. So, much like lifting or sports, I'm going to take an off-season and in-season approach. When you're further out from your actual competition, in this case the test, you're going to do less specific things to prepare. So in my case, I went through the general topics on the exam. Basically, the physics exam for AP Physics covers magnetism, electricity, kinematics. Let's see what else was on there. Pendulums was a thing, planetary motion, and then subatomic concepts. Those were kind of the six main things. They also threw in basic scientific concepts as well, kind of as the seventh. So far out, I laid out those big general concepts, and I picked out the ones that I wasn't so confident in. So with my background, I was very strong in kinematics, the basic scientific concepts, and the nuclear chemistry / physics portions, with some of my weaknesses being pendulums. I forgot to mention lenses, and electricity and magnetism. So I kind of split those up. I said, okay, I'm going to ignore my strengths for a little bit, focus on my weaknesses, just like you would during the off season of a powerlifting program, right? You're doing all of this accessory work to bring up your weaknesses and refine those, and hopefully whenever it's time for the competition or your big event, that pays off. So far out, I go with the general stuff, and I just start with paperwork, right? And I would list them out. Here we go. I've got free fall in kind of its own group. We had pendulums, had a page on pendulums. Of course, I'm doing this at home, and I just grabbed this stack, so it's not super specific. You can see I was looking at lenses. I went through the whole gamut early on because you want to get that general knowledge up as high as you can. Then, as the time gets closer to the test, okay, you take that general knowledge and you start making it more specific to the test, and that's the time to whip out the practice problems. So with the Praxis exam that I just took, you can go online, purchase a practice test with the exact type of questions. It's not the same questions from the test itself, but it's the same format. And just like powerlifting, where as you get closer, you're doing more specific things. 1 rep lifts and things like that. The weights are getting heavier. It's the same thing. I took that very general list of 7 topics and narrowed it down, and now I'm answering specific questions that could be from any of those topics. And I am not narrowing it down based on topic anymore, because part of the skill of test taking is being able to identify what they're actually asking you. And especially in upper level tests, sometimes most of the problem is figuring out what they're asking. You might know the concept, but if you can't figure out what they're asking for, then you're going to be SOL. Okay, so that's kind of the general gist. As you get closer and closer to the test, you want to get more specific and listen to specific problems, do specific problems, and then that leads us to the idea of specificity and repetition. So just like in powerlifting, I'm relating that because that's my sport. You could relate it to your own sport as well. I want to keep things repeatable. So whenever I'm far out and I'm looking at the general topics, I don't really care. I'll listen to whatever, I'll eat whatever, be in whatever situation. As I get closer to the test, a couple days out, I will start to ingrain things to make my brain shift into physics mode whenever I'm doing those things. One of the examples was having a cough drop. You could do this with mints. I just happen to have cough drops and a bit of a raspy throat lately. But when I was doing the problems, I'd have a cough drop in. I wouldn't have one other than when I'm doing those problems. That keeps me, throw a cough drop in, boom, it's physics time. The other thing that I would focus on would be music. I listen to the same album of music. In this case, it was a Nickelback album. Make fun of me down in the comments below if you want. But that way, whenever I'm listening to that music, I can start connecting some of the concepts. And in physics specifically, there's a lot of equations to be memorized. So what this does is it can help your brain connect that music to some of the memories, and it can actually make recall a little bit easier in my experience. So whenever I go to the testing center, I listen to that album on repeat in the car. I get to the testing center, I pop one of these in, and my brain knows, oh, it's physics time. Okay? So the last thing that I did was I made sure I was hydrated, I made sure I got enough sleep, and the morning of, I make sure I have about an hour before the test to decompress and let my brain kind of completely re-energize. I'm not cramming up until the very last second, because sometimes that can be detrimental. It's just like a deload in powerlifting. You're not training all the way up until the competition. You're going to take this taper at the very end to let yourself rest and then prove your skill. Same thing here. Do not cram right up until the end of the test. You'll be fried. Take that little bit of a brain breather. In college I used to go to bed and I wouldn't look at it again until the test. Let everything sink in and calm down a bit. The last thing is caffeine. So you can use that as a tool to keep yourself alert and recall to be a little bit better, but be careful. You can overdo it on the caffeine and then be jittery and you're sitting there at the computer kind of shaking and all over the place. Okay, so hopefully that helps you all, gives you a perspective of how I approach a test just like I do a powerlifting meet, and overall that has led to success in my career. So hopefully you can apply some of those. Let me know down below, do you do a similar thing with your test taking strategy? Hopefully it helped. Please like and subscribe as always, and until next time, happy lifting.